Hey, what's up everyone? It's Steve Aoki. I just want to thank all the Saturday Night Online listeners and Romeo for doing this. Time to answer some questions. All right, first one is Nurhan from Louisville. How do you feel when you see your music so popular and accepted in mainstream culture? I never thought that it would be. So for it to get to this space, get to this place where for example, my single Delirious with Chris Lake and Tujamo and Kid Ink, seeing that's top 40 in America, it was a trip for me. And actually, it was the first time I approached a song to crack radio in a way where people outside of my world can appreciate and hear the music. So I'm extremely excited about what's to come, and I'm looking forward to getting more music out there. All right. Let's skip the next one. Carter from Jacksonville asks, what do you look for when signing artists to your label? I look for a lot of different things. I mean, there's two different approaches for me as far as signing music. One is signing a song, and one is signing an artist. And when I sign a song to Dimmock, it's really based on, in this case, when I'm talking about a song, I'm talking about a club record that I would play out for DJs. Because predominantly, the majority of the stuff we put out is dance music and stuff that DJs play out. So I look for songs that work on the dance floor, songs that I would play out. And they don't have to be by some big notable name. It just has to be a song that's effective. So I look for a melody line, a hook that I like, and a drop that works with that hook or that melody, and the drop being interesting, something that like blows my mind, or something that just like I know will work on the floor. When I sign an artist, I look for different elements. I look for more of a long-term approach, and I look at how they see their brand, how they see their vision. It's a bit deeper than just the song themselves, but like how consistent they are at writing the music. I want to get to know them. If anything, I would love to like sit down with them, hang out with them, invite them to play a show, get to know them personally. And if we click and I could see myself working with them, whether we on the road or working on music together in a studio or whatnot, that relationship can grow even bigger. All right, so Susanna from Monterey asks, what is your favorite city to perform in? My favorite city to perform in is not necessarily a city, but a festival, and that's Tomorrowland. And that's actually in a very small city called Boom in Belgium. But the festival itself is such a magical moment. It's one of the most extraordinary feelings that I felt DJing, playing in front of so many people, with representing so many different countries. You see everyone putting up their flags, and being on the main stage, closing out the festival for the last 3 years has always been one of the most incredible feelings in the world. Nate from Pensacola asks, when did you know you wanted to become a musician? I never really knew, but the first time I picked up a guitar was when I was 15. And since then I joined bands, like through my teenage years to my college years. I was joining bands, playing guitar, bass, singing, and it was that kind of beauty of not having to deal with being so good at the guitar, being so good at playing bass, or even be good at singing. It's more based on, here for this card. It's more based on the passion that you're putting into the music, and that's what your bandmates or people that want to work with you were drawn towards. And then we were able to find chemistry with each other to write songs together, to perform together, and that was really the kind of I see it as like the training wheels to me becoming my own producer, working on my own off of a computer 10 years later. This is back in 95 to 2000, and I started producing in 2005, and so yeah. At what age did you really start taking interest? Okay, Azalea from San Diego says, at what age did you really start taking an interest in EDM and house music? I started DJing pretty late in life in consideration to all the people that love this kind of music. I started DJing when I was 22. I started producing music in 2005, 3 years later, when I started DJing. So I started producing remixes of indie bands, and those bands, a lot of the bands happened to be on Dimmock, which is pretty much the only reason why I could even get to remix some of these bands. So I felt very fortunate that I had the stems to Block Party and to the Rakes, and to get my name out there in that way. So so I'd say like I got into electronic music in 2004, started producing 2005, put out my first single with will.i.am as Super Black in 2008. I did a mix album called Pillowface and his Airplane Chronicles at the same time as well, that represented the electro sound like Justice and Boys Noise, and a lot of indie bands like Klaxons and Mastercraft and Soulwax. So that was the scene that I was involved in at the time. So around that time. I already answered that question. Move on. Juliana from Phoenix asks, where do you discover new talent for your label? Everywhere around the world, actually. And if I was to go down the roster, or per se the release schedule of all the different releases, in the last 2 or 3 years, it's literally artists from all over Europe, all over America, and I want to always I always want to find artists from different areas in the world. Like, I would love to find more artists out of Brazil and South America and Central America and Asia, all over Asia. I mean, there's an incredible scene out there. And same with South Africa, and what's going on in Africa, and what's going on in other parts that don't get the shine so much. So everywhere around the world. Josie from Kansas City says, who would you love to collaborate with that you haven't yet? My dream collaboration would be with Rage Against the Machine. That would be my dream. It's Zach De La Rocha is my favorite singer, and combined with him and the whole band, and what kind of output that band has created and inspired and empowered, and the lifetime of what Rage Against the Machine has done so far is insane. It's amazing. So Rage Against the Machine. Danielle from Oak Grove says, or asks, how was the scene changed over the course of time from when you started to now? Man, it's changed a lot. It's really changed a lot. I mean, first of all, because everyone talks about the term EDM. EDM is a fairly new term. EDM, I feel like it started emerging itself in like 2011, and it's more of an American term. And so I grew up in LA DJing, and I saw the culture of the nightlife changing from in that period of time too. And like around 2008 to 2011 was really this change and this flip of the landscape of music in the scene, going from where all the majority of the clubs were playing top 40, and there's only a few clubs playing electronic music. or electro at the time, which is what we were doing at Dimmock parties, and what me and DJ Aim were doing at Banana Split, to flipping entirely, where it was no longer about the top 40 scene, but more about electronic dance culture. And same things happen in Vegas as well. And I think you could say that's a microcosm of what America was like too, in that period of time. So I mean, it's a bigger question, but you know, there's something there. Bethany from Austin. You put on the best show. What do you do to ensure the crowd is vibing with you and your music? Well, at the end of the day, it's all about connectivity. It's all about how to engage with the audience. And, you know, like the music is the sole force between myself and the crowd. But how do we find different ways to change the dynamics? Because, you know, the music is one really intense dynamic, but how do we fluctuate that and do different things to kind of excite people or agitate reactions? And that's where these different things that I do come into play. So during my show, I always throw different elements into the crowd, no pun intended, and you know, kind of find that interaction a little bit more physical in that way. So, Leanna from London asked, what was the craziest caking experience you've had at a show? Every caking experience is crazy. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's explosive. It's creamy. All of it in one cake, in one face. So they're all awesome. And I don't know, the one I think a lot of people saw was the one that TMZ ended up posting up about. I mean, it's an amazing shot, amazing angle of the brother of this kid in this wheelchair being hoisted up at a festival, and I had to choose who to cake. And so there's a lot of different signs up in the air, and here's like 10 people hoisting up this kid, and he's like just energized to get caked. And I don't know how I was able to land it on him, but it did, and it was really far away. Pam from Denver asks, which of your songs gets one of the best reactions from fans when you start playing it? The reactions from songs differ in each country or culture. In America, Pursuit of Happiness, my remix of Pursuit of Happiness, which I wrote 5 years ago, still relevant now, still really popular now. Everyone knows that song. It seems to be like a college anthem song, I think, from that movie Project X, which kind of reinvigorated that song, gave it a new life. In a lot of countries, No Beef is really big. And right now, all around the world, Boneless, the instrumental to Delirious is a monster record. Turbulence has always been a really big one as well, so there's a few. Jackie from Philadelphia asks, which DJs are you closest with? The great thing about the DJ world is that it's a very small knit, awesome, harmonious world. A lot of the DJs get along. We're all friendly with each other. Even DJs in different scenes are friends, and not everyone gets to see that kind of that coexistence and that awesome energy. But the DJs that I'm closest with, there's a lot. I mean, I love Skrillex. He's awesome. Joel from Deadmau5 is awesome. Steve Angelo, all the Swedes that I've met, Seb and Axe, Zed, Afrojack. God, there's just so many DJs. I mean, I hate to just name these and then not name all the other ones that are really, really close friends of mine as well. So there's a few of them right there. Flux Pavilion, we have a song together on Neon Futures. So there's a few there. Emma from Dubai asks, where do you get inspiration for your music? Inspiration comes from absolutely everything around you. And the one thing that I've learned is that if I don't take the moment before it's gone, I will lose it probably entirely. So I like to record things on the go, you know, whether I'm doing voice memos, you know, recording an idea right there, and I have a million of those, to recording sounds, to just taking everything that's around me and writing down notes. If you don't do that, you will forget about all those different little things that get your attention, and that can eventually become into a great song. Ploy from Bangkok asks, what kind of music did you grow up listening to? I grew up listening to all kinds of music, but the music that became my lifestyle and that became my identity was punk and hardcore. And to be more descriptive, it was straight edge hardcore music. You know, I remember when I shaved my head clean off, and I was a kid, I was 14, like 90 pounds, wearing size 40 pants and big baggy t-shirt, you know, going to shows, tripping over my pants. But that was what the kids did, and that's, you know, at that impressionable age, that's the scene that I got involved in, and I've taken a lot of those tools from that lifestyle, that community, and grown with that, and it's been a big part of my of what makes me me. Let's keep going. Hannah from Bristol says, or questions, do you like recording or performing music better? It depends. Sometimes you're in the studio and you nail an idea down, and there's no better feeling than that. And when you leave the studio, and sometimes these sessions are like 12 hours. I mean, sometimes they're really long. So when you leave the studio and you feel like you've done something that's, at least for yourself, evolved your sound, that's evolved your production, the feeling is you can't relate it to anything else, and it's more of an internal feeling, you know. It's something that, it's a powerful feeling that you don't forget, and it's also addictive. It makes you come back into the studio. With playing shows, that's more of an outward expressive feeling. That feeling is that connection that you have with fans that are connecting to that music that you were working on in the studio. That feeling is extremely, extremely powerful, and affects my senses, and it's an addictive feeling as well. So it's hard. It's a give and take on both sides. Sometimes I love one more than the other, and you know, and they both play hand in hand. Chloe from Nottingham asks, who's a producer that you think is amazing but flies under the radar? There are tons and tons and tons of producers that don't get to shine. And that's why I have a label like Dimmock Records to support new budding talent and get their names out there from their productions. Some that I can list right away is Botnek. Botnek are from Canada, the incredible producers. Keep an eye on them. Dioro, who's been coming up, he's shining right now. He's doing well, so I'm really happy to see him growing and flying from his productions. There's a lot of new guys on the horizon. Autoerotic from Canada as well, are great. Keys and Crates, also from Canada too. But we are definitely looking for more artists to help develop and get their music out there. Let's skip that one. Steve from Tucson asks, would you ever cut your hair? Now, why would I do that? And just, I just can't imagine doing that right now. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it, even though it's pretty messy, and I don't, it's not the best treated hair, but I like it, it fits me. Tatiana from Portland asks, what's one item you can't be on the road without? What's one item I can't be on the road without? I'd say I can't be without toothbrush. Yeah, you gotta clean your teeth. You can't be Can't be breathing all over people. Stinky breath. Toothbrush. Maddie from Perth asks, who's someone in a different genre of music that we'd be surprised you're friends with? I love crossing genres. I mean, that's one of my favorite things, is like breaking down barriers between different cultures, different worlds, different sounds, different genres. But who would be surprised? Like, let's see. I want to find one that surprised me. I met these young kids. It's not too surprising, but I'll talk about it. I met these two young kids at iHeartRadio Music Festival that I played in Vegas, called Jack and Jack, and they're like the Vine stars, and they're incredible at singing and rapping and doing their own thing, and they got their own little world. It's not little. They got their own big world, and I love being able to connect with people that are just doing extraordinary things in their own worlds. So look out for something exciting for me and Jack and Jack. Mallory from Portland. No, I don't want to say that one. Daniel from Inglewood asks, where is your favorite spot to vacation? It's a good question, because my life, I travel all around the world, and in many ways I travel to all these vacation destinations for a lot of people. And so where is my favorite? Well, one of my favorite places, I'll tell you right now, is Tenerife, Spain, in the Canary Islands. And that's because they have an incredible wave pool, and I spent 3 days, 4-hour sessions surfing in that wave pool, really understanding the technique to surf. And you know, I surfed since I was a teenager, but I surfed more in that wave pool. I got more waves in the wave pool than I ever surfed in my entire life. So I give it up to Cyan Park in Tenerife. Brendan from Belfast has no question. Skip that one. Kush from the Philippines asks, who do you look up to the most? I'd say my family. My family, like my mother, who's raised me, is one of the strongest and most caring people I've ever met in my life, persons I've ever met in my life. My father, who, you know, I feel like a lot of who I am and how I got here was, you know, a lot of it was inspired by how he did his own life. My brothers and my sisters, all doing incredible things. And yeah, so my family. All right, thanks again for submitting your questions for me. And thank you, Romeo, for having me on Saturday Night Online.